Does the FBI own or currently use drones, and if so, for what purpose?
Yes, and for surveillance. I will tell you that our footprint is very small. We have very few and have limited use, and we're exploring not only the use but also the necessary guidelines for that use.
FBI Director Robert Mueller admitting the use of drones to spy on American citizens. The news that drones are being used on American soil has stirred a great deal of controversy, as you would expect. With me is civil liberties attorney John Katz in D.C. and conservative commentator and constitutional attorney, my friend Ann Coulter. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to see what I have here. This is a drone, all right? This is a real drone. I have to tell you, of course, they come in different sizes and they fly up higher. They can go as high as several hundred feet to 50,000 feet or more for more than 20 hours. And obviously they weigh differently depending upon whether it's a manned, unmanned, whether there are weapons in it or not. But I have to tell you, you know, if this is really high up in the air, you're not going to see it. Would you see it? If you're at a barbecue, you're going to look up and see, you think it's a bird until the flash goes off. Anyway, all right, Ann, let's talk about this drone stuff. Is the use of drones legal?
Well, it hasn't been held illegal, and I'm not even...
That's because there's no cases on it yet.
What I think about, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, and we've heard about cases where it's been used and to great success, but I think the main issue is the reason we need them is that the Immigration Service isn't doing their job. When we talk about spying on American citizens, it's always, you know, American citizen Anwar al-Awlaki. Yeah, okay, they're technically American citizens, like these Chechens were technically American citizens.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm worried about... I'm having a barbecue at my house.
I know.
Do I have to worry about a drone because they're looking for al-Awlaki that they're killing over there anyway? John, let me ask you, is this stuff legal? Is a drone legal?
There has to be court approval. We know that you can't have GPS technology following a car without court approval. We can't have planes using infrared technology looking at houses for marijuana growing without court approval. And we can't have dogs coming up to people's houses looking for drugs without a court order. So there need to be court orders here.
All right, and, you know, it's called, you know, the reasonable expectation of privacy and probable cause. John is right. There needs to be probable cause.
Well, any place someone could see you, the drone can look also.
Yeah, but what about the drone? And I'm not even sure we know what these things do. Do they follow us around? Do they see through the roof? Do they see through windows?
No, they cannot see through the roof.
Yeah, but, you know, it's like you might be able to have some kind of X-ray or sensing equipment that would...
It would have been very useful at the, when they were chasing the marathon bombers. It would have been good. You can only have so many police. They have police helicopters. If the police helicopters could follow the car, then a drone can follow the car.
But John, you don't disagree with Ann that in a case like the Boston Marathon bombing, I mean, you know, we're in basically a lockdown city. You don't have a problem looking for these guys with a drone. That's exigent circumstance, yes?
Exactly. Without exigent circumstances, without probable cause, it's allowed by a court. This just can't be happening. And, you know, how far are we going to go to invade people's privacy to stop crime? If we had cameras on everybody, I guess there would be no drug dealing. If we had cameras on everybody, there would be fewer murders. It has to stop somewhere, and at some point, people have to fess up and say, okay, we're going to go ahead and try to obliterate the Fourth Amendment through the proper voting, through the proper channels to allow this kind of invasion of privacy.
Oh, Ann, let me ask you this. We heard Robert Mueller testify this week, and he says that, you know, the FBI has been deploying drones, and I think DEA, ATF, I'm not sure who else, and they are in the initial stages of developing guidelines. How do we do this without the guidelines?
Well, that's why I keep going back to the root cause of the problem, which is that we are inviting terrorists to come and live here and become American citizens. And I think it's a cheap ploy to say exigent circumstances. What if instead of shooting a cop on the MIT campus, they had just been spotted? What if it weren't exigent? What if they hadn't pulled out a gun and killed someone at that moment, but they know you have the suspect there? It's too expensive to send a helicopter. You send a drone. But it isn't simple criminal behavior we're talking about in all these cases. The reason people like me are sympathetic to it is when they are citing terrorism.
Of course.
All of these American-born terrorists aren't what we think of as Americans.
You're not suggesting that just to keep an eye on terrorism, we can keep an eye on everybody.
No, what I'm suggesting is the INS shouldn't be letting in potential terrorists.
Okay.
That's
All right.
what it goes back to.
John, last word. You got 10 seconds.
We have to have equal protection of the laws here, Ann. We can't be focusing on non-American born people here.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
why they shouldn't be coming here.
Well, that's for another time. John and Ann, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Judge.
What would you say if I told you your vote doesn't count? That all the effort you put into the issues and candidates is a waste of time? That there are people at the citadel of power who believe that it is their right to invalidate your choice if they don't agree with it? Folks, this is not about politics. It's much bigger. I doubt in American presidential election history that there has been as great a crime or as large a stain on our democracy than that committed by a criminal cabal in our FBI and the Department of Justice who think they know better than we who our president should be. Now, last week I told you it all started when Cardinal Comey destroyed our FBI with political hacks to set events in motion to destroy the Republic because they didn't like the man we chose to be our president. Well, it's time to take them out in cuffs. I took a lot of heat for that and got a lot of pushback, including Stephen Colbert, whom I invite to come on Justice and say what he said to my face. But tonight, Mr. Colbert, in the spirit of the season, I offer this branch. I hereby double down. This is worse than even I imagined. This week we saw documents that gave us context, or as I would say in my DA life, motive for the crimes that I've already described to you in the past. Not that we need motive, since the elements of the crimes have already been established. And folks, this was the mother lode. Members of the FBI and the Department of Justice, some of whom actually ended up on Bob Mueller's team to prosecute Donald Trump, did everything they could to exonerate Hillary Clinton for her crimes and incriminate Donald Trump with a non-existent crime. For example, change grossly negligent, an element of the crime, to extremely careless in an effort to take Hillary's acts out of the criminal realm where there are no criminal consequences. Example, remove reasonably likely hacked by other countries to possibly, to make it appear that there was no hacking of our classified material on Hillary Clinton's completely unsecured server, which the Romanian hacker Guccifer told NBC News from a prison in Bucharest was as easy as opening an orchid on the internet. The person responsible for changing the language from incriminating to innocent is Peter Strzok, a button man in the crime family of James Comey. Strzok, the same man who oversaw the creation of the Trump dossier, the one bought and paid for by the Clinton team, and sat in on Hillary Clinton's interview, who agreed that her aides, Cheryl Mills and Numa Abedin, could be interviewed together, unheard of in law enforcement, and also Strzok, the one who interviewed Michael Flynn, the only one charged with anything. Strzok was a student of Andrew McCabe, deputy director of the FBI, and according to the Wall Street Journal, Strzok, his gumad, Lisa Page, and McCabe met at around the same time the FBI launched its counterintelligence investigation into possible Trump-Russia ties. Strzok, since he's head of the counterintelligence unit, is reported to have signed the affidavit based on the false dossier for the FISA warrant on Trump and his associates. Now, this crime family shows its motive and clear intent in August of 2016 when Soldier Strzok says in a text, "I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office," an apparent reference to Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, that, back to quotes, "there's no way he gets elected, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40. Close quote. An insurance policy? The deputy director of the FBI, his deputy assistant director, and his girlfriend in the FBI legal department plotting a scheme in the unlikely event that Donald Trump gets elected? They're not willing to take the risk that will elect him, and so the conspiracy to interfere with the election of Donald Trump is hatched. And later, the deputy director and his gomad pay compliments to each other, saying they are both fortunate that they were meant to protect the country from that menace. Bruce Orr, Associate Attorney General, and his wife, their own little crime family. You'll recall Fusion GPS is the company that hired Christopher Steele with Hillary's money to create a false dossier on Donald Trump. The Associate Attorney General's wife actually works for Fusion GPS. And Orr arranges a meeting after the election. Now think about it. After the election with Fusion GPS, which could be for the purpose of covering his own tracks or to get their stories straight in case someone talks. There you have it, folks. The abbreviated version of a criminal cabal, like a crime family in the movies, except this time the FBI is the crime family. As with all crime families, the head needs to be someone who seems holier than thou. The FBI director under whom it all happened called behind his back Cardinal Jim Comey. His consigliere, Andrew McCabe, the lawyer making sure that his wife got Clinton cash to run for office and violating any statute that got in his way. And his button man, Peter Strzok, who, along with his gomad Lisa Page, another FBI lawyer, are getting off in their fight to save the country from Donald Trump. Sounds far-fetched, doesn't it? It's not. There's a core group of arrogant, corrupt, and lawless individuals that felt that they, and not we, should decide a presidential election. And when they failed, they conspired to create the false narrative to not just muddy our choice for president, but to bring down his presidency and his family as well. The evidence is there, the motive disclosed. Still not sure? I ask you to look back on a prediction made by a powerful Trump-hating Democrat in January 2017, talking about Donald Trump.
Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
The only thing that remains is whether we have the fortitude to not just fire these people immediately, but to take them out in cuffs. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, #JudgeJanine.